greetings, my dear children. I welcome you all for the next social class. Today, we are going to start a new chapter Kingdoms, Kings, and an Early Republic. In the last chapter, we learnt about the Vedic Age and the Vedas, which was composed by the Aryans who were leading a wandering lifestyle. Now, how did the kings, kingdoms, and republic system enter in their migrating lives? In order to find answer for this question, let us get started with a small starter activity which will lead us into the lesson. Amit's eyes fell on a very interesting cartoon in the newspaper one morning. He was curious to know what the statement in the cartoon meant. In a democracy, citizens decide who should be their master. He had heard terms such as elections, ballot box, and vote, but he wasn't sure what they meant. Amit went to his father with his queries. His father explained that India has a democratic form of government where the people have the right to choose their leaders through elections who form the government. But Amit had more questions. What is democracy? Did it exist 1,000 years ago? Did people elect their leaders then in the same way as we do now? If not, was there some other system? Like Amit, we too have these questions in our minds. So, come on, let us travel into the Vedic period to find answers for these questions. After the decline of the Harappan civilization around 1500 BCE, a new group of people called the Aryans lived somewhere in the areas of Central Asia, migrated to northwest India. This period was the Vedic age because most of the knowledge we have of this age and its people come from the texts they composed, the Vedas. This Vedic age was divided into early Vedic age and later Vedic age. In the early Vedic age, the Aryans lived in tribal groups called Janas and went in search of green grasslands as they were cattle herders. But in the later Vedic age, they started living in settlements and pursued agriculture. This settlement was known as Janapadas, where Jana refers to people and Padas refers to feet. Hence, the term Janapadas refers to the place where people place their feet and settle down. Now, whenever there is a group or community, definitely there will be a head to take charge of them. So, these Janapadas were ruled by rulers and they might have been elected by elections, by victory in wars, etc. But some men became rulers or recognized as powerful rulers by performing yagnas, that is, sacrifices like Ashwamedha Yagna. You may be wondering how a yagna could make a person a ruler. Come on, let us know how Ashwamedha Yagna helped some men to become rulers and added power to their rule. The term Ashwamedha refers to the horse sacrifice, where Ashwa means horse and Meda means sacrifice or power. This was a ritual performed by a king where a horse was let loose to wander freely, followed by the soldiers for its protection. If the horse wandered into the other kingdoms of other kings and they stopped it, they had to fight with the king who sent the horse. But if they allowed the horse to pass, it meant that they accepted their defeat and go under the control of that king. So, in this way, the kings gained power over other territories and was recognized as a powerful one. After 1 year, the horse will return back to the kingdom where it will be welcomed back and the Ashwamedha Yagna was performed. The kings who allowed the horse to pass their region were invited to the sacrifice and they brought gifts for the king. The king who performed the yagna was a central person in it. Along with the king, his queen and his family members were also expected to perform small rituals in the yagna. This is the picture of Ashwamedha Yagna performed by Lord Rama in the great epic Ramayana. Lord Rama performed Ashwamedha Yagna after defeating the king Ravana. Then, what about the participation of the people in the Yagna? Did they participate in the Yagna? Yes, the people participated in the Yagna with the exclusion of some people. But who were included or excluded in this yagna? What would be the reason behind it? Let us try to find out the reasons for this inclusion and exclusion in the following slide. The Brahmins or the priests performed the rituals in the yagna. The Kshatriyas or the rulers were the important persons of the yagna. The ordinary people, the Vaishyas, also brought gifts for the king along with the other kings. However, some people known as Shudras by the Brahmins were excluded from all these rituals. But who gave all such rules? It was the Brahmins who framed such rules in the society. There were several occupations in the society, and the Brahmins arranged them in an order and called it as Varna or caste. The first Varna was the Brahmins who were allowed to study Vedas, perform sacrifices, and rituals. The second Varna was called the Kshatriyas, which included all the rulers and soldiers. They were expected to fight battles and protect the people. Now, in the third place, they placed Vaishyas, which consisted of farmers, herders, merchants, and craftspersons. They were also allowed to perform sacrifices. But the last place goes to the Shudras, who had to serve the other three groups, and this Varna included poor laborers and slaves. The rigidity or the toughness of the caste system crushed the life of the poor people. The Shudras were considered as untouchables, and even talking to them or seeing them was considered as polluting or sin. Often, women were also grouped with Shudras and they were not allowed to receive education. The life of Shudras was entirely spent in serving the upper caste people, and they were highly cheated and exploited by the upper caste. During this period, Brahmanism was dominant and they gained power and authority. They never allowed intercaste marriages and interdining. Since Kshatriyas were rulers, they too were powerful. Due to the economic influence they received through trading, Vaishyas were also not much affected by this caste system. Slowly, this caste system moved from occupation based to birth based, where the person's birth will decide his or her caste. For example, if one's father and mother were Brahmins, one would automatically become a Brahmin. So, the caste system did not allow the people of lower caste to receive education and reach higher even if he or she was talented. Now, around 2500 years ago, some Janapadas became more powerful and important than the others and were called Mahajanapadas. There were around 16 Mahajanapadas in the Ganges Valley in the 6th century BCE, that is before Common Era, before the birth of Christ. The 16 Mahajanapadas are Magadha, Avanti, Kosala, Vatsa, Kuru, Malla, Chedi, Kashi, Anga, Vaji, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Ashmaka, Kamboja, and Gandhara. In Mahajanapadas, there were two types of political systems, and they are republic system and monarchy. In republics, a group of people were having authority over the people. Hence, there is no succession of rulers or leaders. Example for this system is Vaji, one among the 16 Mahajanapadas. Next, in the monarchy, the rulers were not chosen by the people and were ruled by powerful kings who were succeeded by their hereditary children. This is known as hereditary kingship. Best example for monarchy is Magadha, one among the 16 Mahajanapadas. Now let us see about some of the aspects of the Mahajanapadas. The first one we are going to deal with is agriculture. We know that the development of agriculture has helped people to live in settlements. Many techniques and ideas were used to improve the yield in agriculture. Even we have learned that Harappans used plough in farming. Similarly, people in this later Vedic age also brought many changes in the agriculture. This period led them to the first important change, the discovery of iron, which helped them to use iron plows and hoes in farming to enable deep plowing of the fields. Here in these pictures, you could see plow and hoe. The construction of canals and wells were used to supply water for the crops at regular intervals. The second important change was the practice of transplanting paddy. In this method, instead of scattering seeds on the fields, the seeds were turned into saplings and the saplings were planted in the fields. This tough work was done by dasas, the slaves, and the karmakaras, the landless laborers or hired workers, which in turn increased the production at a higher rate. Due to the increase in agricultural production, people were free to take up other occupations, and there were potters, weavers, carpenters, smiths, and traders. So, this led to the development of trade and development of cities, which is known as urbanization. Padaliputra, Rajagriha, Vaishali, Champa are some of the urban areas found in the Jataka tales. In this age also, pottery found its importance, and the picture of painted grey ware you see here is an example which is known for its smooth, shiny surface, and it might have been used for special occasions by rich people and upper caste people. Introduction of currency played an important role and eliminated the barter system, which means exchanging of goods instead of paying money. Punch marked coins made of copper and silver made inland trade and sea trade to flourish in those times. Below is the picture of punch marked coins discovered from Kosala, which dates around 600 to 470 BCE, that is, before Christ. Now, let us move to the next slide to learn in detail about the administration in the Mahajanapadas, monarchy, and republics. In the monarchical administration, the king was the supreme authority. Each Mahajanapada had a capital city and were fortified with tall and impressive walls. The fortified cities displayed the power of the kings and offered protection for the people. At the same time, armies with soldiers were maintained for protecting the kingdom and to expand the territories by war. The king was also advised by a group of ministers which consisted of Senapati, commander of the army, Amatyas, ministers, Purohits, priests, Balisadaka, tax officers, and Gramini, head of the villages. In this slide, you can see a picture displaying the fortification wall at Kaushambi. This is a picture of remains of a wall made of bricks found near Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh. A part of it was probably built around 2500 years ago. Now, how did the kings get money to meet all these expenses? The answer is taxation. People were imposed taxes by the kings on a regular basis. The collected taxes were Baga or share was taxed on the crops paid by the farmers. One sixth of the total yield was paid as tax to the kings. Next, the taxes were paid by the craftspersons either in the form of their craft articles or they worked in the king's palace for a particular period of time. Taxes were expected from herders and they paid it either by giving animals or the animal products like milk, meat, skin, etc. The king collected taxes from hunters and gatherers in the form of forest products like wood, timber, medicine, fruits, etc. There were also taxes on the goods that were brought and sold through trade. So, the kings were supported economically by the taxes paid by the people on a regular basis. So far, we have seen about the monarchical system. Next, let us move to the next slide to know about the republican system. In the republican Mahajanapadas, the king was not the absolute ruler. It was ruled by the Ganas, also known as Ganarajas and Ganasangas, who were the male heads of particular families. The people regularly met in the assemblies called Ganas and took important decisions based on the majority. In this system, Kshatriyas exercised political power and Brahmins lost their importance. Thus, a republican Mahajanapada was ruled by a group of people rather than a single individual. Both the monarchical and republican systems maintained fortified capital cities. The life of the people was more or less the same. Though Brahmins lost their importance in the republican system, the rigidity of the caste system did not reduce. So, the people started to devote themselves to Jainism and Buddhism, which opposed the caste system. Many kings were also not satisfied to be in the position next to the Brahmins in the caste system, and they considered it as low or inferior. So, they too changed to Buddhism and Jainism and helped in spreading these religions. Now, let us think over the following text. From the Society of Mahajanapadas, we found out that caste system was at its peak in monarchical system, whereas in Ganasangas, new religions like Buddhism and Jainism emerged and attracted more people towards them. Why do you think people adopted other religions? What do you know about Buddhism and Jainism? List out the places in the world which follow Buddhism and Jainism today. Now, among 16 Mahajanapadas, Magadha excelled in monarchy and Vaji excelled in republics. Why? So let us try to figure out answers for these questions and do a light reading on Buddhism and Jainism, which will help us to get ready for the next part of this chapter, covering the topics a closer look on Magadha and Vaji, rise of new ideas, Upanishads, rise of new religions, Buddhism and Jainism. With this, we are coming to the end of part 1 of this chapter. To check your understanding, I want you to fill and submit the Google form. I hope the class was interesting and clear. So, let us meet in the next class for the continuation of this chapter. Thank you, children.